Welcome to me, where suspenseful, thrilling, and mysterious stories will draw you into a world where the lines between reality and fantasy seem to blur. When the night falls, when all the sounds gradually quiet down, leaving only your own heartbeat and breathing, that's when these stories begin. Tensions, unsolved mysteries, moments that will make you hold your breath in fear or curiosity, all are waiting for you ahead. Find a comfortable seat, dim the lights, and let this sound guide you on a journey that is not for the faint of heart. I want each of you to leave a comment sharing where you are in the world. And if you are enjoying the episodes, don't forget to give a like and subscribe to the channel now. Relax. Are you ready? If so, join me in the first story right now. Monochromatic. This story includes depictions of mental health and death. There is nothing graphic, but these topics are touched on. I had never been quite fond of Eve as her psychiatric nurse, the buoy who kept her from drowning in an ocean of madness. I should have made an effort to respect my patient. I should have, and yet I couldn't. It was unbearable to deal with a soul so far gone, someone so dreadfully insane. Nonetheless, Evelyn Barrett was still mine to care for, my own burden. It was odd to dwell on the fact that someone so young, barely even 18 to be exact, could mentally fall down such a slippery slope. Eve was admitted to the sanitarium around 2 months ago, following her breakdown at school. According to her classmates, Eve had never been social. She tended to keep to herself when given the choice. And while this was not abnormal behavior for a teenage girl, it had always been different with Eve. Well, it had grown to become different. Students began reporting incidents involving Eve. They would hear her muttering to herself in class, her words unintelligible, but her whispers crazed. They would hear her sobbing in bathroom stalls. Her teachers noticed her grades slipping. Eve would write ominous messages on her papers, and she would draw horrific drawings in her notebook. Drawings of characters plucked straight from horror movies, monsters. Though her behavior was abnormal, Eve caused no problems. She remained silent, which was nothing out of the ordinary. She basked in the endless insanity of her paranoid, twisted mind. But at that time, no one was aware of how truly twisted it was. After months of containment, Eve suddenly exploded. She jumped up in the middle of class and shrieked, screaming bloody murder. Accounts of the story from her classmates explained that Eve screamed, "Leave me alone," dozens of times. According to the witnesses, Eve was not talking to a specific person, not one that anyone could see anyway. Her teachers restrained her and subdued her screams. Her behavior was, according to her classmates, purely and utterly horrifying, insane. And so, I was stuck with Evelyn Barrett. I tried to build connections with my patients, and usually, I was successful. Over my years as a nurse, I liked to think that my psychological support helped my patients heal. It did. There was no doubt about it. I did my job well until Eve came along. For some odd reason, I could not break through with Eve, break into her subconscious and heal her fragile mind. Whenever I tried to talk to her, she would do one of two things. Either she would completely block me out, or she would scream nonsense at me. In any case, neither method was beneficial in the slightest. The past 2 months had consisted of pointless therapy sessions and no progress whatsoever. I couldn't help but feel sorry for the poor girl. As I walked into my tidy office, I pushed out a sigh and slumped into my armchair. Eve was scheduled to meet with me at any second, and to be quite honest, I was dreading our session. Up until now, my day had been calm. My serenity was about to be interrupted simply by being in the presence of the crazed child. 3 knocks on the door was all it took. My spine straightened, and I felt the muscles in my neck tighten. My automatic physical response whenever Eve was near. The creaking of the door disturbed my therapeutic silence, and as I watched a caretaker escort Eve through the doorway, a queasy feeling began to form in my gut. Eve seemed on edge today, more on edge than normal. Her long cascade of honey blonde hair was ruffled, as though she couldn't be bothered to run a comb through it. Her face was a sickly shade of white. The shadows casted upon her face complemented the lack of life within her frozen, gray eyes. Eyes that hardly looked like eyes at all. She looked dreadful. The caretaker made sure that Eve settled comfortably on the couch before taking her leave. Nevertheless, Eve looked nothing but uncomfortable. She brought her knees to her chest and hugged them tightly, her body resembling something of a ball. Her hands shook while her feet tapped on the cushion over and over again. It was easy to assume that nerves had Eve in a chokehold. "How are you doing today, Eve?" I asked the girl, my voice visibly annoyed. I didn't care enough to put on a facade for her. Eve wasn't fond of me, as far as I could tell. It was obvious by the way her eyes ever so slightly cut into my face, as though they were 2 honed knives. Regardless, the feeling was mutual, and so treating one another this way had become routine. Usually when I asked her a question, Eve ignored it completely. I assumed she would simply ignore me by the way her gaze dug into my skin, and so I wasted no time before pulling out my notebook. Lazily, I jotted down a note. "Silence," I wrote. Nothing out of the ordinary, until I heard a raspy breath emerge from her mouth. "He's going to kill me soon," Eve muttered, her voice barely a whisper. I could hardly comprehend her words. Her empty eyes widened as her fingernails dug into her pants. The girl rocked back and forth in a crazed manner, almost as though she truly feared for her life. I, for one, believed that Eve was bananas, but as her nurse, I could not disregard such an alarming phrase. "Who? Who's going to kill you?" I asked, as calmly as possible. Though I knew that Eve was completely mad, I knew that she was Her words still managed to send a chill through my bones. Eve disregarded my words for a moment, her mind unable to flee from whatever eternal nightmare it was trapped in. Her gaze remained on the ground and focused on anything but me. Seconds ticked by. Minutes. Finally, Eve's eyes snapped to mine, somehow more frantic than before. He's taking over my life, the world around me, everything. She snapped loudly, her sharp words making me flinch. Her body recoiled after her outburst, and she scrunched back into her ball with a shaken expression on her face. "He's going to kill me soon," she repeated. "I just know it." With a sigh, I set my notebook aside and leaned forward. This wasn't the first time that Eve had acted up during a session, but this was the first time that she seemed so sure. So sure about the fact that something was bothering her. I said, "You are safe here, Eve. Nothing is going to kill you. This is all in your mind, okay? You're okay." "No, please, Debbie. I am not insane. This is real," Eve persisted. Hearing her say my name was odd. She had never addressed me before, and until now, I did not know that she even knew my name. He's out to get me. The Shadow Man. He's the Shadow Man?" I repeated incredulously. Despite Eve's urgency, I did not believe her words. Her crazed, perplexing words. She had never once opened up to me like this, and so I had no reason to believe that she was telling the truth now. Instead of dismissing her comment, I wanted to dig further. It was my job, after all. "Who is he?" Eve shuddered, as though a gust of icy wind had blown through the room. "I don't know." She paused abruptly and locked eyes with me. "But he takes things from me. He steals them." Despite my confusion, I played into her claim. "What does he take from you?" Eve blinked multiple times. "Color. Color? The color that I see. The color that she sees." "What does that mean, Eve?" I asked, and anxiety grasped my brain. Her answer, while strange, was also oddly specific. And something about that was off-putting. Color blindness. Was that what Eve was hinting at? Were colors fading from her vision? I took my assumption and rolled with it. "Does your family have a history of color blindness?" That sounded about right. Perhaps Eve was losing her sense of color, and she was freaking out about it. That wouldn't be anything out of the ordinary, but it was obviously nothing to go crazy about. No, it's not color blindness. He takes the color from me." She snapped again, her expression flushing with maroon fury. "You're wrong. I am not crazy. You think I am, but I'm not. I'm not." Suddenly, Eve was on her feet, marching across the room to my desk. I sat up out of habit and hesitated. Eve seemed angry. Was she going to attack me grab for a weapon? I decided to take no chances, and I, too, rose to my feet. I turned to face Eve, only to find that she was inspecting various objects on my desk. Colored pens, Post-its, my computer. It's all black and white, everything. She picked up a lime green Post-it and shook it in her hand. I can't tell what color this is. He stole it from me. It's gone. It's all gone. He's gonna kill me once everything is gone. Eve, calm down. No, I can't. Eve paused abruptly when her eyes fell upon a particular object on my desk. Her mouth gaped open as she snatched the object, inspecting it in awe. I almost reached for her arm and demanded for her to put the object down, but I restrained myself. Eve held the card that my daughter had made for me years ago. On the front of the card was a drawing of a rainbow, colored messily with crayon. My daughter had handcrafted the card when I fell terribly ill, and I believe that the card itself had cured me. I had kept it lying on my desk all these years, and the messy rainbow had been my constant reminder that color can supply us with life and wellness. And now, as Eve's shaky hands grasped the card, I fought the urge to snatch it from her. This card was precious to me. I couldn't risk her ruining it. It's colorful. She gasped in awe, her eyes absorbing the card as though its sparkles were emitting from it. I can see the rainbow. He hasn't stolen it from me. Suddenly, Eve's guard was up once again, and she clenched the card against her chest. I winced as the paper grew crinkled in her strong grasp. I need to keep this card with me. I can't let the Shadow Man steal it. It's all I have left. Protectively, I shook my head. My deranged patient could not be trusted with my precious card, my personal gift from my daughter. No, I don't think that's... Debbie, please, Eve urged. For one moment, the desperation in her voice made her sound sane. This is life or death. I am not insane. He is going to kill me. I can't let him steal the color from this. It's all I have. Please. Hesitance gripped me by the throat, and I opened my mouth to speak. Nothing came out. Eve stared me down, and her empty eyes were suddenly not empty anymore. They weren't lifeless. Instead, they seemed brighter, filled with life, with hope. I had never seen this side of Evelyn Barrett before. I stuttered. Nothing is going to happen to you, Eve. You don't need this card. But as I said these words, even I heard the doubt within my voice. I felt that I would regret keeping the card. Perhaps if I gave Eve the card to borrow, she would feel more at ease. Perhaps this card was the key to break through into Eve's mind. Perhaps she wasn't so far gone. Reluctantly, I backed away from the girl. Just keep it for now. That's fine. I sighed. Eve's eyes sparkled, and a hint of a smile pricked at her lips. She looked normal, as though she didn't live in a sanitarium. "Thank you, Debbie. Thank you, thank you," she repeated hastily. "Just return it to me when you no longer need it." Of course. Eve's mannerism was completely different than it had been when she first arrived. As she continued inspecting the card in awe, I couldn't help but smile. Perhaps I could help her. Perhaps the Eve that I was not quite fond of was fading, and a new girl was coming to light. Either way, I felt the start of something new. Hope. The next day, I was scheduled to check up on Eve. The feeling of apprehension that usually sat in the pit of my stomach was gone. Ever since our session yesterday, I had faith that my patient was healing, truly healing. I walked with optimism, hopeful that my relationship with Eve was growing stronger. One of the best feelings as a therapist was knowing that you were of aid to your patient, that you were able to dig them out of a great hole. It felt rewarding, fulfilling. I approached Eve's door and knocked gently so as not to startle her. Though she was in the process of healing, she was still fragile. I waited for a few seconds before knocking again. Eve did not respond, and I heard no noise from inside the room. The queasy feeling in my stomach returned. I knocked louder. No response. To accompany my uneasiness, an alarm resonated through my skull. Something was wrong. Skeptically, I pushed open the door and took a quick glance around the room. It didn't take long for me to spot her. Eve. She was sprawled out on the ground, unconscious. Without hesitation, I crouched on the floor next to her, shaking her shoulder. "Eve? Eve?" I blurted. There was no response. She didn't move. "No, Eve. Wake up." My chest felt light as I reached for Eve's delicate wrist. There was no pulse. In fact, her skin was a block of ice. "Oh my God, Eve." Numbly, my eyes trailed over towards her hand. Her fingers limply held a little slip of paper with a rainbow on it. The card that my daughter made. The next few moments were a blur. My body began moving on its own, while my mind remained stuck on the image of Eve's body on the floor. Her still, pale body. As I unconsciously grabbed the card out of Eve's limp hand and shoved it in my pocket, I heard muffled voices entering the bedroom, scrambling around me, asking me what had happened. I didn't process the question, couldn't process it. All of my senses were honed in on Eve, on the fact that she was dead. Nurses surrounded Eve and I, and before I knew it, I was laying on the ground too, losing consciousness. I felt as though I was floating in outer space, and it became a struggle to breathe. My vision was fading into a deep darkness, and everyone near me was fading. The nurses, Eve, everything was fading. I was grasping onto nothing. But no, something was still there, hidden in the corner of my periphery. Though it blended within the darkness overtaking my mind, it wasn't completely hidden. I saw it. Him, though hardly visible, I was still able to make out the silhouette of a large man standing in the corner of the room. He hardly looked like a man at all, really. As far as I could tell, he had no hair, no face. He looked like an apparition by the way he blended into the wall behind him. He was the absence of everything, a void where light should have been. It was impossible to make out the distinct features of the man, but even with a blurry glimpse, I knew that the man was something of a sinister entity. Evil. As I blacked out, 2 words repeatedly rang in my head. They reverberated deeply, their consonants sounding of menacing death knells. It was all I heard as I lost consciousness. Shadow man, shadow man, shadow man. I woke up with a start on the couch in my office. My thoughts immediately trailed to what I last could remember. They trailed to Eve. She had died. Was that all a dream? What if it wasn't? What was the cause of her death? She was healthy, physically at least. Nothing made sense. The shadowed silhouette grazed my thoughts, and a chill fell over my body. I must have been imagining the man. I had not been in the right state of mind, merely on the brink of passing out. It was an illusion. It had to be. So why was it that Eve had also been hallucinating a shadow man? A lump in my pocket alerted my senses, and I reached for whatever was inside. My fingers lifted out a piece of crinkled paper, scrunched up in a ball. The card. It was ruined, shoved in my pocket like a piece of trash. As my eyes welled up with tears, I unfolded the paper and examined the rainbow on the front. I blinked multiple times and wiped away the tears from my eyes. Something wasn't right. My vision was playing games with me as I stared at the card, at the sloppy rainbow on the front. My heart dropped as I realized something. Eve wasn't crazy. The rainbow on the front of the card was no longer drawn in colorful crayon. It was purely black and white, a tear for Mr. Pessbody. Evelyn was a woman in her mid-30s who seemed to have it all. A successful career and a beautiful home. But despite her outward appearance of happiness and contentment, Evelyn was constantly battling demons within herself. From a young age, Evelyn had always been a perfectionist. She excelled in school, graduated top of her class, and landed a high-paying job at a prestigious law firm. But as the years went by, the pressure to maintain her flawless image became overwhelming. She was constantly striving for perfection in every aspect of her life, fearing that any sign of weakness or failure would shatter the facade she had built. One fateful day, in a moment of sheer desperation, Evelyn fled her office and drove aimlessly. The long highway stretched out before her. Evelyn's journey was not without its challenges. The rhythmic hum of the engine and the gentle whir of the tires on the asphalt were the only sounds that accompanied her. She found herself contemplating the choices that had led her to this point. As she drove down the long highway, occasionally she would drift over her lane, and she would hear the honking of a car horn. She would be lost in thought and not paying attention to the road, which is something she never done before. Evelyn was a very good driver. She did not know what was going on. I need to stop this and get my mine back on the road before I kill myself of someone else. Her headlights illuminated the highway, casting long shadows across the landscape. She had been driving all day and well into the night. Her eyes were heavy and burning from the headlights blaring in her eyes. She gripped the steering wheel, her knuckles turning white as she navigated the road ahead. The miles seemed to stretch on endlessly, the road disappearing into the darkness ahead. But she wasn't afraid. She knew she needed to stop soon. The sign up ahead read, "Exit 1 mile." As she exited the highway, she felt a sense of dread. It was not a well-lit road. See let out a sigh of relief as she seen a Waffle House sign lit up. But to get to the Waffle House parking lot, she had to go through an old, abandoned gas station. As she cut through the station, she could see a shadowing figure standing on the corner of the abandoned station. She couldn't take her eyes off the figure. It was as if he was staring right through her. As she pulled into the Waffle House parking lot, she bumped into the curb, which broke her fixation of the figure at the gas station. She exited the car and went inside. It was a drab-looking place. As she looked around, the waitress said she could sit anywhere. Evelyn took a seat near the waitress station. She felt safer there. For some reason, couldn't shake the feeling of impending doom. Evelyn tried to rationalize her fears, telling herself that it was just irrational paranoia or stress getting the best of her. But deep down, she couldn't shake the feeling that something terrible was about to happen. Evelyn said she would like a cup of coffee. As the waitress was pouring her coffee, curiosity got the best of her, and she couldn't resist asking the waitress about the man. "Who is that man standing over there?" Evelyn inquired, nodding towards the figure outside. The waitress paused for a moment, glancing out the window before turning back to Evelyn with a puzzled expression. "I don't see anyone, dear. Are you sure you're not mistaken?" she replied, furrowing her brow in confusion. Evelyn sat there quietly, drinking her coffee. Evelyn must have fallen asleep. She felt a gentle shaken on her shoulder. She smiled at the waitress, then got up, paid for her coffee, then went to the restroom. she splashed cold water on her face. As she was leaving, Evelyn thanked the waitress and headed to her car, dreading the drive ahead. She was tired. The tiredness in her bones weighed her down, making the thought of sitting behind the wheel seem like a daunting task. As she was getting in the car, Evelyn looked over at the station. She could see the man starting her way. Panic took over, and she hit the gas, sending gravel spraying, ricocheting off the underneath of her car. She flew through the parking lot. The adrenaline pumped through her veins. The stop sign loomed ahead, but she had no intention of slowing down. With a defiant attitude, she pressed down on the gas pedal even harder, the tires squealing in protest as she hit the pavement. As she got onto the interstate, with fear in her eyes, Evelyn keeps looking in her rearview mirror as if the shadowing figure was about to bite her on the behind. Evelyn hadn't noticed that she was going well over 80, her eyes fixated on the rear view. But when she finally got the strength to take her eyes off the rear view, to look at the road ahead, there in front of her was a semi stalled in her lane. With no time to react, Evelyn let out a horrifying, blood-curdling scream. Evelyn's eyes opened, and she jotted up, unaware of where she was. The room was spinning around, and her head hurt. Her boss, Mr. Peabody, was knelling next to her. No, don't move. He was telling her to take it easy, that she had a bad fall and hit her head, and the ambulance was on the way. All of a sudden, Evelyn grabbed his coat with both hands and blurted out, it was all a dream. Then her eyes slowly closed, and her grip loosened. She became limp. Mr. Peabody carefully lowered her down. The ambulance hadn't made it in time. She was gone. With tears streaming down his face, he bent down and gave her a kiss on her forehead. Then he pulled the blanket up over her head. As he sat there with his heart breaking, regretting that he never told her that he loved her. Hail Mary! The man lay prone on the edge of thick woods, sighting down the scope of a .30-06 hunting rifle. Snow flurries melted on the back of his neck. For an unknown reason, and mixed with the smell of pine and gun oil, the phrase "veil of an endless winter" entered his mind. He shook his head. Poetry is the vice of fools, he scoffed. Through the compressed distance, the telescopic lens thickened the falling snow, proving the chalk house a quarter-kilometer away, a miraged dream. A woman came out on the porch, centered in the crosshairs. As if something caught her attention, she glanced quickly in the man's direction. She studied the woods for a long time. They stared back at one another, she in the glass from opposing distance, he a foreign and ominous presence. He stripped off his camouflage clothing, his muscles taut. After switching out to jeans, a black polar tech, and civilian hiking boots. He broke down the rifle, then wrapped the sections carefully in white cloth. He stuffed the bundle into his knapsack. Before he tied up the pack, he pulled out a clear plastic sleeve containing a yellowed file. Within it, he flipped through multiple pages, stopping at an aged copy of a driver's license. The photo, a man with long white hair. He tapped the image, his forefinger protruding from a fingerless leather black glove. He then said out loud, "Gotcha, you son of a bitch. Do you have food?" He asked the woman who answered the oak plank door. She was gaunt and scanned over the man's head to the woods. She's beautiful, he thought. Is she 35 or 50? She looked the man over. We can give you food for work, but not long. Okay, what are you? I'm Tavi. No, I mean, what are you? Bannock. I'm Bannock. Did you come from Twin Falls? The reservation. No, no one comes from there anymore. We need you to bury cattle. Can you do that? Yes. Days went by, and the man slept in the barn and spent his time chipping at frozen ground, digging holes, maws in the earth. There were over 50 carcasses in a field, bloated and gray-white. The work didn't bother him. It took his mind off remembering the night the white flash struck the horizon, safely at home, a Netflix series on TV. His wife was reading in a pink robe, his son in his bedroom. His first thought was, why didn't I ever buy a gun? The impact wave struck the house, sweeping it away as easy as fine cutlery off a table. And as luck would have it, leaving him without a scratch, but alone. Sooner than he could have ever imagined, he was arrested by men coming to his tent in the camps. "You're a terrorist," accused the broken and terrified faces, neighbors he'd hugged at Christmas parties. The only way to prove he wasn't the enemy was learning how to fire a gun, learning how to point a finger at other people, learning how not to feel anything while passing ash-laden bodies hanging in nooses. How can I live with myself? He'd ask the ghost of his wife. You can't, she'd say. Just come home. Dad, he cares nothing about us. You're too young to understand, the old woman said to the boy. And why should he care? He'll slit our throats right here in the kitchen. The old woman, her daughter Faith, and the boy were eating dinner. Faith cut ribs, separating the bones by hacking at them with a meat cleaver. The boy's face glistened badly, where on one side his flesh lay in white, scared rivulets. Just stop, Faith said to her mother. He's only 12. No one spoke for over a minute, while the old woman stared at Faith cutting the meat. He's scum, you know? Only an Indian would bury livestock for a living. With her elbows spread wide, her pincered teeth darted back and forth, pecking small pieces of flesh. A white bone in her greasy skeleton hands What makes you so sure he's trouble? Maybe he's been sent to help us. Now you've got the sickness to think that. I don't imagine we need to worry he'll kill us while we sleep. Do you think that? Really? Damn right I do. That's exactly what he'll do if we're not careful. Faith's mother spit out a piece of pink grizzle. Your brother will be back soon. He'll tell us what to do. What's that? The boy called from the porch. Tavi held a football, flipping it in his hands. He threw the leather ball to the boy, who fumbled and dropped it. I'm not very good, the boy said. Sure you are. Pass it to me. Tavi moved away from the porch. The boy was thin and moved like a young man, and Tavi's face grimaced, remembering a day when the sky was blue and fall leaves yellow and red. I only dream in color, he thought. The boy threw him the ball. Better, you are good. Now you run out. The boy hesitated, moved off the porch, and jogged out 10 paces. Throw it, Tavi. Go way back. Tavi held the ball high in a poise, like a statue getting ready to launch the ball. Holding the stance, and with a radio announcer's voice, he said, Listeners, he's going out for the big play, still 2 points behind. Will the Saints have a last gasp to win the game? Tavi braced himself. He's throwing a Hail Mary. The crowd roars. The boy ran well into the yard, and Tavi threw deep, the ball arching through the gray sky. The boy reached his fingers and bobbled the ball, tipping it up into the air. It then fell into his arms. Score! The boy hero wins the game. The boy's smile broke broadly, and he came back to the porch. He handed the ball to Tavi. There's no more football, but there is. We're the proof, aren't we? I guess. But it's not the same. Tavi put his arm around the boy's neck. He pulled him close. Laughing, the boy hugged Tavi. Tavi winced. He burst out crying. Just go in the house, will you? Go, damn it! The boy cowered, his eyes wide. He ran to the house and slammed the screen door. Soon, Faith came out. But Tavi was nearly retuned to the barn. Is this what it's come to? She asked herself. Am I so desperate I'd let my son be abused by a stranger who barely talks? No. Even with your life stripped away, you still have something. Your son. He is the only pure honesty left. What keeps you alive? She plodded to the barn and then leaned against the barn door. Tavi's shirt was off, and he was pumping water into a bucket. Scars covered his back like lost highways on some map no one used anymore. You don't yell at my son, Faith said. Tavi glanced up. I'm sorry. What's your problem? Nothing. That's not enough. If you want to stay, you need to tell me. It's nothing, okay? What? Tell me. Tavi put his shirt back on. Jason reminds me of my son. It's hard for me. That's all. A minute passed. I'm sorry, but that's still no reason. What did you do before the war? I worked in a fishery near Stanley. We would spawn salmon and release them into the river. Why would you do that? We would count the few that returned. They traveled hundreds of miles from the ocean to get back. The lake is called Redfish, for when my people lived there. The lake was red with the fish. Do you think there's still fish? I don't know, but I'd like to find out. They say the deer may have returned also. Some elk. Life is still out there. People survived. Just luck in my case, Faith. Bad luck. Maybe something else. I don't believe in anything but luck. But you don't know, do you? Maybe there's something else other than luck. That sounds like a stretch, Faith. I used to think we're meant to leave something better for those to follow. I don't believe that anymore. Something better for those to follow? We didn't do such a wonderful job, did we? What about you? Is there anywhere you'd like to go? I'll stay here. My brother takes care of us. Food, fuel. Without him, we'd be in a camp, I suppose. You'll like him. He'll be here in a few days. Tavi reached out and touched a place on Faith's cheek. He caressed her with his fingers, then reached behind her and braced the back of her neck. He showed no emotion, like stroking a cardboard box, his eyes curious. Remembering, finally, Faith said, "It's been a long time. I've aged. You might not. You don't know who I am, Faith. My advice is to run." They stood facing each other. Then Faith began pulling away. Tavi gently held her neck. Finally, Faith leaned in and grazed Tavi's ear with her lips. "There's a place for you in the house. There's still room, at least for hope, isn't there?" Tavi woke from a dream where he was wearing snowshoes in thick snow over ice. He was breaking trail, and his wife was behind him in a red winter jacket. The sun was bright, and she laughed at something he said. With a grunt, she broke through the ice and then clawed at the edge where the hole had broken through. She soon slipped under. Tavi stripped off his jacket and dove into the hole. As he pulled down with his arms into the ice water, his body felt numb, but he still kicked his legs with everything he had, swimming deeper. At last, the red jacket was just beneath him, his wife reaching to him from below in the pale light. "Swim, damn it! Swim! Grab my hand!" Faith lay next to him in the dawn white of winter. She was shoving his shoulder. There are men on the porch. As Faith and Tavi came downstairs, they saw two men talking to the old woman. One man towered over her. He wore a Kevlar vest and leaned in. "We've got him, so this is a simple trade, if you think about it." The old woman held a small pistol in her hand. "Jesse, take your boy and get off my property." The younger one moved to go. He wore a vest also, but both the vest and the camouflage clothing didn't fit. More clown-like than threatening, Jesse scowled down at the old woman. "You telling us you don't want him? He's my son. You think I don't want him?" The man put his hand on the big revolver on his side. "You give us what Joe told us you have, or we'll start carving on him. We aren't in high school anymore." The screen door squeaked, and Tavi came out of the house. He stood by the old woman's side. Tavi glanced at the AR-15, auto-fed, that the younger man had slung over his shoulder. It dangled on a lanyard. Jesse glanced at Tavi. "Who the hell is this?" "You get out of here, now," the old woman said. The two men walked away, and Tavi and the old woman went back into the house. They gathered in the living room with the boy and Faith. "Why didn't you shoot him, Grandma?" asked the boy. He went to the window and peered through. "That's Jesse Rollins." "Yes, it is," said the old woman. "Now move away from the window." "What did they mean by saying they have Joe?" Faith asked. The old woman checked the handgun for bullets. A small .22 pistol. "They have our Joe, holding him out there. But I'm not giving them anything. It's all we have keeping us from a camp. You can't imagine, Faith, what Joe says is going on. He's family. It's a trade, isn't it? I'm just doing what he'd do to us. He's as dog-eat-dog as I am, and knows how it is." Tavi entered the room, carrying his pack. It was full, his feet heavy on the wood slats. The scoped rifle was strapped in a sling over his shoulder, and he wore camouflaged fatigues. In front of the old woman, he said, "I'll be needing your pistol." The old woman grabbed for the gun, but Tavi held her wrist while he twisted it out of her hand. He then tucked it in the rear of his pants. The boy had tears in his eyes. "Tavi?" Tavi went to the window. He stared for a long time, and then, in a quick motion, he turned over the yellow pine table on its side, dishes shattering, and dragged it to the window. He grabbed a chair, crouched on the seat, and lay the rifle barrel on the edge of the table. Leaning into the scope, the staked-out man 50 yards away came into focus. It had stopped snowing, and the crosshairs remained steady on the man's head, resolute and sharp. The man's hair was long and white. "There's your humanity," the old woman screamed at Faith. "You see it now." "Don't you, darling." Tavi lifted the rifle. "Jason, come here." He dragged over another chair. "I'm going to go out there and draw those men out of the woods. When you see the smaller man come out with the rifle, he intends to kill me. Do you understand that? You shoot him, okay? Don't think about it. Just pull the trigger. Here, place your eye on the scope like this. Do you think you can do it?" He passed the rifle to Jason. "Yes, sir." Tavi slowly crossed the yard to the edge of the clearing. He approached the man on the ground. The boy crouched at the window. "Come on, come on, come on," he mumbled to himself as he steadied the rifle, bracing the stock with his shoulder. The old woman paced behind him. "You can't shoot, squat." She shoved Jason and put her hands on the barrel. "Give it to me." Jason pushed her away and sighted again out the window. Tavi came to the man staked down. He was moaning in the gray ash snow, his face bleeding and bruised. Long white hair streamed down his back, matted and wet. Tavi stared down at him, and prodded him with his boot. "Do you know who I am?" The man on the snow stared back at Tavi with blank eyes. Tavi reached down and cut him loose, and the man rose and staggered towards the house. Jesse came out of the woods. "What are you doing? Where's our trade, big man?" Tavi stood up. "I'm the trade. Me for him. We'll take you, him, and anything they've got," Jesse said. "Plus, we'll step in where you left off with Faith, you might say." The old woman jostled Jason, tugging on the barrel. "Give me that thing." Again, Jason pushed his grandmother away, jerked the rifle back, his whole body shaking as he crouched behind the scope. He took his eye off the lens to wipe the sweat out of his eyes. "Give me the gun, damn it, boy." The boy thrust his body against the old woman, and she sprawled to the floor. He put his eye to the scope, put the crosshairs on the man, and pulled the trigger. Faith heard the click of the gun, and with the empty sound, her heart thumped. Just once, like her insides were collapsing hard in her chest. Jason dropped the rifle, ran to the door, and then stood on the porch. "Tavi!" His arms flailing, he leaped into the yard. "No, don't!" Faith screamed. "Don't you go!" Jason ran towards Tavi, his legs driving through the snow, white bursting around him, the ash kicking up underneath. The younger man squinted at the lunatic boy, whirlpooling his arms, coming straight at him. A howling apparition from hell, scars red aflame on his face. He lifted the AR-15 to his shoulder and swung the barrel. Tavi grabbed the rifle and threw his back into him, and with both hands, he forced the gun toward Jesse, who screamed as jackhammer bullets stitched across his belly. The younger man was behind Tavi now, and he felt a blade slide into his back, slick and deep, the pain piercing to his spine. He fell away and turned as he hit the ground and reached the pistol behind his back and fired into the young man. Tavi dreamed. The water was deep, a pure crystal blue. He pulled with his arms and kicked as hard as he could to fight, to descend. He tasted salt. And then his wife was there in her red jacket and broad-faced smile, reaching to him from below. The water was warm as he went deeper, so very warm. She stretched to him, her face with such a smile. "Grab my hand," she said, and he did. They began swimming against the current, a blinding light at the end of my nightmare. "Eddie, it's bedtime," Mama would shout at me, shaking me out of my intense focus as I stared at the television set. She would add, "I don't know why I let you watch those shows. You only end up peeing in your bed because of your nightmares." Feeling embarrassed in front of my older sister, I would respond in self-defense. You would get the heebie-jeebies from Alfred Hitchcock, too. "Mama, he is the master and hero of all that is dark and sinister." She would not have any of it from a 10-year-old. "Eddie, enough of your mouth. Get to bed." And that was the end of our discussion until tomorrow night. Reluctantly, I trudged upstairs to my bedroom. I had my normal ritual for going to bed. No, it was not brushing my teeth or washing my face. I would search every corner of my room, looking for suspicious evidence that creatures were patiently hiding for their next meal. Me. Once I canvassed every nook and cranny, I would slither under my covers, imagining that it represented a force field from all supernatural beings and beasts. Feeling some assurance that I was safe, I would drift off to a light sleep. A scraping branch against the house, a creaking pipe, a howling wind, or murmuring voices would be enough to rustle me out of my delicate slumber. I would wake with a start and repeat my ritual. Then, for the rest of the night, fall in and out of sleep. I figured a gruesome beast must have taunted me, because, unfortunately, it was very damp between my sheets when I awoke in the morning. Like any other morning, my sister would offer up her compliments. "You look like hell. Eddie, did you wake up in the jaws of a monster this morning? Did you have to swim out of your bed?" I turned to her with a sardonic grin, saying, "Be careful, or my swamp monster might swim in your bed some night." She looked at me with disgust, saying, "Eddie, you are so revolting." My breakfast then proceeded without interruption. However, this morning would be different. After my sister left for school, my parents decided to have a heart-to-heart talk about my viewing and sleeping habits. They had planned this out well, because no counter-argument I mustered up would change their plans about my immediate future. I understand parents want the best for their children, but I felt they were overstepping their bounds by compelling me to see a psychiatrist about my problem, my incontinence problem. At least, that was what I thought it would be about. The ruse to see a psychiatrist was not for incontinence, but for treatment of my obsessive-compulsive disorder, OCD, and insomnia. Apparently, my parents were keenly aware of my behavior at night. I was not aware the behaviors manifested themselves during daytime at school. My teachers were decidedly concerned, requesting my parents to intervene and find treatment for my disorders. My psychiatrist was empathetic to my interests and actually encouraged me to continue in my pursuit of thriller, scary, shock movies, games, and activities. He was so impressed that I could nearly remember all of my dreams, especially the nightmares. Nonetheless, he prescribed some medication to help tone down the OCD tendencies. His counseling therapy helped me to focus on self-control and restraint of successive, redundant behaviors. Some medicinal assistance also helped with the quality of my sleep. and significantly reduced the incidence of my incontinence and snarky comments from my sister in the mornings. As the years passed, I was better. I felt rejuvenated. I was able to manage my thoughts and actions even when I immersed myself in my hobby of collecting horror movies, stories, and the like. My dreaming remained vivid. Occasionally, I would wake during the night in a cold sweat. No night terrors. No hysterical yelping at night. Some of my dreams I would not remember the next day. Nonetheless, there were a few dreams over the years that plagued me. Most were insanely comically, like an elephant falling out a skyscraper window, landing directly on top of me. Another version had an upright piano doing the same thing. Still other crazy times had killer cows or piranha fish walking on land stalking humans. Nightmares with zombies, ghosts, or ghouls did not upset me. What was extremely disturbing to me was not knowing the source of the terror or evil. One such time, the gruesome source was found in a howling wind, which would transform itself into an array of terrifying beings, creatures, and nondescript things like a smothering ooze. I questioned why this malady of nightmares still plagued me. It was after such reflection on my condition, I decided to make good use of this nocturnal problem. I focused my career on writing horror stories, potential movies, frightening, dramatic plays. I became so good at my skills, I had the audacity to self-publish several stories. To my amazement, a producer in Hollywood got a hold of one of my published stories. Before I realized it, I had a smash horror hit on the big screen and a job creating, writing, and directing all kinds of media horror. I had made it to the big time. Blinding lights flashed all around me as cameras captured my profile at my film premieres. My fiendish ideas were making a huge success and making me rich. I was still actively struggling with my insomnia despite my success. A deep sleep was rare for me. I shrugged it off as a consequence of the pressures of Hollywood and being recently married to a harlot of a wife. I shared with my therapist about how gruesome and sinister my nightmares had become. Yet, I justified those nightmares by citing how they were good fodder for my films and future ventures. I remained undaunted as I counted my gold. My career was literally driving me mad with ghoulish creativity. After all, they were just dreams. Maybe bad ones, but just dreams. They would remain in an ethereal state of mind until I gave them life. Already, the holidays were knocking at the door. In Hollywood, one determines the seasons by the storefront displays on Rodeo Drive and Melrose Avenue. Christmas was a mere month away. I was hoping this year the holidays would provide a peaceful respite from the hustle and bustle of shopping, my dreams, and all else. I was looking forward to the splendor of the season, bringing me some peace and much-needed rest from my constant night terrors. A few friends tried to coax me to attend church services to aid in my recovery. I declined. Churchy stuff was just not on my agenda this or any holiday season. With the house decked out in a few feeble decorations and no annoying carolers singing at my door, I decided to cozy up in my recliner for a peaceful nap, or so I thought. All of the pressure of my job and the haunting dreams had taken its toll on my body. I fell asleep instantly. I am not sure how much time had passed, but I awoke to a strong smell of sulfur, followed with a blast of very hot air. I felt something was wrong as I rose from my recliner. At first, I thought it might be a fire, but my immediate surroundings were strangely altered. Any light in the room quickly faded. It was nearly pitch black. A pinpoint of light emerged from a distance. It grew larger as it advanced toward me. Strangely, the light spoke to me. From the day you entered this world, and now to your grave, your soul has been marked for me. This is the beginning of eternity for you. You are now my child of the darkness. You are now a prisoner in my realm of depravity, defeat, and despair. Your soul is a good fit because of your perverted thoughts and sinister desires of your corrupted heart. I was stunned. I stammered out a question at the light. Who are you? And why are you visiting me? I heard clattering noises and voices in the background. The light said, I have several names. I am known as the Day Star, the Morning Star, Lucifer. In a bellowing, prideful voice, it said, I am the accuser. Instantaneously, a terrifying dragon appeared, hissing fire and sulfurous acid as it spoke these words. I am Satan, the deceiver and devourer of the whole universe. I was incredulous and could not speak. The dragon continued on. I am here because it has been your desire to delve deeper into all things purely evil and wicked. Ever since you were a child, you set your things on devilish, depraved images. I filled your mind with them, but you were never satisfied, always wanting more and more to fill up your lustful yearning for the macabre. You became successful at using my craft of malevolence in this world. Now it is time for you to repay me for all that I have given you. I frantically looked for a way out. There was none. With a trembling voice, I said, I never asked for this. Since I was a child, my nights have been filled with extreme anxiety and insomnia. You made my life a living hell. Satan quickly responded, My boy, my foolish boy, that is exactly the point. Your fascination with wickedness and death have preoccupied your mind through your entire pitiful life. I just gave you what you wanted. A living hell. You devalue human life with wretchedness and contempt by the monstrosities you have created. That is what your heart desires. Satan chuckled through his explanation. He showed me a vision of human faces etched in despair. I heard voices crying out in blood-curdling wailing. There was incessant gnashing of teeth. Flames engulfed the disembodied faces. Roaring conflagrations of intense fire and heat spewed from the vision, causing me to fall back. I was mortified and overcome with great fear. Satan spoke again with confidence. You are trapped by your earthly desires. There is no way out. My final gift is for you to capture the misery, hopelessness, and utter terror of hell in your next earthly venture. After that, your soul belongs to me in the everlasting fires of hell. In protest, I declared, "Oh my God in heaven, no way on God's green earth do I plan to spend eternity with you, you ghastly vermin of mankind." At the mention of God, Satan cringed. He vehemently argued, "I took care of him 2,000 years ago. I made sure he was dead, this self-proclaimed prophet, called the Christ, who called himself God. He healed pathetic people, but he could not save himself from a cross of death. I won, and now I am the victor of everything. My realm is full of the shadowy souls of despicable and evil men and women, believers and non-believers of this so-called God." I saw in that moment Satan trembling and doubting his words. That lapse gave me a moment to remember something from my childhood and the Christmases I had with my family. My mama would recount the birth of Jesus, the Christ in Bethlehem. She reminded me of my baptism of water into the community of believers in Christ. I remembered the peace and joy I received. That was a time when I had no nightmares, no night terrors. These memories made me feel stronger. In my boldness, being filled with the Spirit, I proclaimed to Satan, regardless of my sordid past and sinful actions, you, Satan, have no claim on my soul. Your lies and indictments are not binding, because Jesus, the Christ, came to your insidious place to proclaim his victory over you. Where, O death, is your victory? O death, where is your sting? Satan cowered at my words. I continued with amazing fortitude. I believe in God the Father, maker of heaven and earth. I believe in Jesus, the Christ who suffered, died, and rose again for my sins. You, Satan, are a liar, and the truth is not in you. You are damned, but I am not, because the Christ has forgiven me of my iniquities and wretchedness. The Christ is my way out of this nightmare. Begone, Satan, in the name of Jesus. A thunderous rage poured out like earthquakes, volcanoes, and raging storms, simultaneously erupting from the evil one. Instantly, Satan departed, and this frightening nightmare ended. In his wake, a blinding light emerged. I peered at the light. I saw a star hovering above a man and woman, gathered at a crib of straw. In that crib, I saw a baby wrapped in cloth, and the space around me was illuminated with an incredible light. A great peace descended upon me, releasing me of my terrorizing night afflictions. May your dreams be filled with joy and peace of the baby whose dream became reality to save man from himself. There were shepherds living out in the fields nearby. It was night, and they were taking care of their sheep. An angel of the Lord appeared to them, and the glory of the Lord shone around them. They were terrified, but the angel said to them, "Do not be afraid. I bring you good news. It will bring great joy for all the people. Today in the town of David, a Savior has been born to you. He is the Messiah, the Lord. Here is how you will know I am telling you the truth. You will find a baby wrapped in strips of cloth and lying in a manger." Suddenly, a large group of angels from heaven also appeared. They were praising God. They said, "May glory be given to God in the highest heaven, and may peace be given to those he is pleased with on earth." The last phone call. "Mom, finally! I thought our weekly calls from the station were pre-scheduled. I was worried." "Hey, sweetie. Sorry about that. Things have been a bit chaotic up here. Solar radiation's been causing issues with communications. You usually call on Sunday. It's Wednesday. You know how space is. Unpredictable. The ionosphere is wreaking havoc on everything up here. It took me a while to get through with the available channels. Restricted, I guess. I hadn't heard about a radiation storm. Anyway, how's the research going? Can't complain. How's school? Weird. I've noticed a lot of strange stuff happening lately. For example, we were setting up the club telescopes in the park on Monday when some official showed up. He said he was with the Space Weather Center. Told Mr. Hayes they were expecting a massive solar flare and had to shut down all civilian solar observations. Said they didn't want any students getting blinded if it happened during observation. Your comms problem isn't related, is it? Could be. The SWC must have seen something. There might be. Wait, that's completely wrong. And Mr. Hayes knows it. Solar filters protect our eyes during normal observation. And even the big flares are not that bright at optical wavelengths. Plus, if there really was a huge, dangerous flare coming, they'd have issued a public warning. The whole thing makes no sense. Huh. Maybe the official was simplifying the explanation, or didn't fully understand. For our astronomy club? Come on, Mom. We're smarter than that. We're all AP students. Mr. Hayes was confused too. I don't think he bought it either. Sarah, why would they bother sending someone in person to a small astronomy club meetup in the park? Why didn't they just send an email warning to the school? Or just issue a general public notice? This guy showed up flashing credentials, telling us to pack it in immediately. It makes no sense. I don't know. Maybe they weren't sure you'd get it in time. And Dad? Mom, I'm worried about him. He barely sleeps. I hear him pacing at night. Yesterday morning, I found him asleep at the kitchen table, still in his work clothes. Well, you know your dad. He's just under a lot of pressure, more than usual lately, always taking his work too seriously. So, how's that physics project you were telling me about? It's going good, Mom. I'll make an A, like always. But Dad, he let it slip. They're updating deep space tracking systems. Yeah, I heard that too. He never was good at keeping secrets. All of them? At once? On emergency status? Who told you it was emergency status? No one. I overheard him on the phone. You shouldn't eavesdrop. I just want to know what's going on. Just tell me. I'm doing my best, sweetie. But you're not telling me everything. Look, honey, you know I can't always tell you everything. So, let's talk about your birthday coming up. 17. Wow. I'm sorry I won't be there. I hear Aunt Paula and your dad have something special planned. Forget my birthday. Something's wrong. The NASA website's been down for days. Maintenance, they say. These things happen. They're probably just doing upgrades or fixing a server issue. During the same week that all the major observatories stopped updating their websites, Sarah, and why did Aunt Paula buy extra supplies? What do you mean? I dropped by after school yesterday. She was carrying in boxes of food for her storm shelter, just in case, she said. She also mentioned that you called her yesterday. I've been trying to reach you for the last 3 days. You found time to call her, but didn't call me. Keep Aunt Paula's phone number handy. It's always nice to have someone to depend on, just in case. Mom, stop. Something's happening. Just tell me. Nothing's happening. We're just conducting routine research. Then explain the launches. You know, I track this stuff for the astronomy club. What? 5 days ago. China, Russia, and NASA all launched within hours of each other. No warnings, no announcements. All classified payloads? At the same time, honey. It's likely just coincidence. Sometimes agencies coordinate for unrelated reasons. You know, NASA likes to cooperate with other agencies. I might have believed that, but amateur astronomers tracked 2 of the rockets, posted the trajectory data online. Then their data disappeared. And now those same astronomers aren't responding to anyone. They've gone dark. You really need to stop reading conspiracy theories online. These aren't theories. I've seen the videos from people who live near the launch sites. Those have been taken down, too. I checked the trajectories myself. They're all going to the ISS, aren't they? And why did the ISS change orbit? Sarah, NASA's. It's complicated. Just some specialized equipment. important for our research. Okay? The Russians are sending up new cosmonauts. The ISS is just performing a standard maneuver, Sarah. Space debris is unpredictable. You know how it is. Nothing you need to worry about. Really? China finally claimed it was a weather satellite launch? Why did Russia lie in their announcement today? They said it was engine testing. And why hasn't NASA said something? These things are complicated. No one launches secret missions in perfect sync by accident, Mom. Remember when you taught me about Occam's razor? Sarah and the astronomy forums are going crazy about something near Jupiter. But the posts keep disappearing. Internet hoaxes. Don't believe everything you read online. No? No, it's not. Dad got a call late last night. It woke me up. I got up and saw him make several calls. He looked rattled. Then he told me this morning that he needs to leave for a few days. For work. So, Mom, I couldn't help but overhear Dad's side of the call. He said something about a spacecraft and a collision course. Mom? Sarah, it's not what you think. These conversations are never straightforward. Your dad deals with classified projects all the time. You should get some sleep, honey. It's late there. He's never acted like this. What's on a collision course? Sarah, please, I can't talk about this right now. All those launches, the spacecraft, the deleted information. It's too much to be a coincidence. They're hiding something, Mom. And you know, Sarah, it's just... Stop, okay? You're not... Mom, are you preparing for something? It's not just research, is it? I can't have this conversation. The Chinese, the Russians, NASA, the ISS, you're all working together. In secret. Sarah, quit it. Now. You're not studying anything. You're trying to stop something. Sarah, I can't do this. I have to go. How big is it? How big? What? The asteroid. That's what it is, isn't it? That's why all the telescopes are shut down. Why everything's classified. You don't want people to panic. Mom, you always were too smart for your own good. How bad? I have to go. Mom, please, don't tell anyone about this call. What? I mean it. It's important. Promise me. I promise. I love you, Sarah. More than anything. Always remember that. Okay? No matter what. Mom, are you going to be on that spacecraft? Mom, please tell me you're not. Be strong, Sarah. Like I know you can. Remember how much I love you. And know that I'm doing everything I can to come back to you. And stay close to Aunt Paula. Just in case. Mom, just be careful and come home soon. Mom, this call has been terminated. I love you too. Stay safe, witch and judge. I am here, in my skin, in my flesh. My spirit clings to the body, not as a vessel, but as a home. And I will not be moved. I repeat the watchwords against division. clutching someone else's rosary. I repeat them. My nails grasp at a different bead, any other bead. My hands forget everything in their cloying desperation for the comfort of a warm wooden anchor. My eyes are drawn away from me. The tears do not help. I cannot see, but then I can. Judge is heaving a great piece of wood, striped orange and white. His back is hunched, and his feet struggle against the splintered wooden barrier. His mouth is statically agape, and his face does not contort or demonstrate any recognition of circumstance. He is the unaffected Tasky, and the last 3 feet of his unwieldy plank strike me from the shoulder to the ground. I am dead. I am clutching the rosary again. My spirit quiets as I reflect on the anger of the grotesque monster I inhabited. He drove a cab for tourists before this country fell into ruin. 3 sons, 4 daughters, and a dead wife, a widower who had not given thought to a better alternative. The cabin of his vehicle was a presentation: ash-colored cloth seats without stain or spot, and 2 complimentary water bottles protruding out of the door cup holders made an effort unmistakable. His ethos was not so much a blunt acceptance of reality as a cold disdain for wishful thinking. All of this poured into my heart as I spent the last few seconds of his life with him. And now I am here, and the door scrapes against the dirt towards me, creating a small mound as it goes. I am not a small woman, but Judge is a tall man. He is an oak that has grown straight and uniform, its roots deep under the earth, unexposed. When I look into his brown eyes, exposed by the sunlight, now reflecting about this pale, wooden shed, I see a stern father. It is all in how he creases his eyebrows. "Are you okay?" he asks me, still clinging to my borrowed rosary. I stand up. My spirit clings to my body with renewed vigor. The vague pain of loss that always reminds me of my husband starts to fade away. It is a beautiful feeling, the body reunited with the spirit like long-lost lovers. 2 co-inhabitants, not 2 halves. But it doesn't go away completely, though my spirit is quieted. All of this in the 30 seconds it takes for me to rise, arthritic pain searing my hip. "I am all right, thank you," I say, ginger but proud. He does not carry that large piece of wood anymore, but his hands have the blisters to prove he once did. He does not want to show it, but he looks tired, and the bulging plastic monster on his back, carrying all of our supplies, seems to make it worse. He needs to rest. I am really feeling quite at peace. Perhaps we should rest. He seems to have difficulty understanding what I am saying. His eyes are fixed upon a small hole in the corner of the shack. where something has dug up the dirt foundation. It is good to rest here. His gruff voice and Italian accent remind me of an old Don from a mafia movie who spoke wistfully of the old country. But he lacks any of the charm or familiarity. His breath is still heavy. The rising and falling of his chest is easily seen through his fleece jacket. His mouth is slightly agape, as though it only existed for the intake and expulsion of air. He blinks again. Then finally, there is motion. He does not spring into action. He slowly rolls his shoulders, and the large backpack falls to the dirt on its bulging pockets, rolling back and forth like an upended turtle. I strongly believe in the importance of polite conversation. It is the only contribution I can make, given my infirmities. What wondrous weather it is. He begins to unroll the sleeping bag. It is for me, of course. He is ever the gentleman in that way, at least. Was it a joy to have such weather in your youth? The sleeping bag haphazardly sprawled on the ground. He takes out a portable stove. His hands seemed designed to break the little dials. Yet he turns it with shaking fingers and a hunched back, like a chef garnishing his signature dish. Perhaps you might tell me something of the flowers here. A special kind your mother preferred? I am quite shocked he has ignored me here. That kind of question is bound to get an emotion out of even the most stalwart Presbyterian. Alas, nothing. He opened the can of soup with his Swiss Army, and that means it is almost time for bed. And for the debriefing, of course. We are only one day from Monteriggioni. We have no food left. We have 1 liter of potable water. The terrain will not be difficult. The elevation will be difficult. We will leave at 600. We will arrive before 1800. Do you have any questions? As his words come out, I feel a twisting frustration. 2 months of scavenging Rome. A week of marching through Tuscany. So many dead people. Good people. Good people that he killed. How many more of them will you murder before you let me leave? He raises his busy, unkempt unibrow. You have a burden. I have a burden. You have a burden? I watch you. I see what they see. I feel what they feel. They had hopes. Do you? I do. Which? A couple of tears form in the corner of my eyes. They are both pitch black. I start scratching my blotchy red skin. He does not say it with the twisting of inflection or with intention to harm. My name is Marigold. I thrust my finger forward at him, and some rogue conscience makes me feel silly. But is the right gesture for the right moment. I need you, witch, and you need me. I am his tool. His edge against the infected, and nothing more. They are not demons, and I am not a witch. You are deranged. You are sick. The next time they are near us, I just might not tell you anything. I might just take a little trip with them. Then I will die. My legs have adjusted to the long days of walking, but I am still exhausted. I want to prolong the argument. I want to share how the infected feel with him. I certainly have tried. I want him to see the crisp interior of the cab. I want him to know about the children and the mothers and the friends and the loved ones. But I don't think any of that would matter. At this point, I doubt he has any point of reference. He must be a statue brought to life, or a thing sprung out of the ground. I fall asleep. I am moving. Quickly. Faster than I ever have. I am hungry. Starving. Grass touches my face, springing backward as easily as forward. My paws leave no evidence in the dirt. I dig a little. My back scrapes against wood, and it hurts. I have to eat. I bite something. I awake to a shout. I cannot see. It is too dark, and our flashlight turned out weeks ago. We had hoped to find a new one at this Monteregione. I feel around on the dirt. Something bit me. A mouse. Demon. Judge is infected. I did not wake up. Why did I not wake up? You will kill me. It is still dark. I still cannot see. I feel something rubber, indented, grooved. Judge's shoe. I feel something jouet, something furry. The mouse. Dead. Hours pass in silence. I cannot go to sleep. Judge has hours, and almost all of them will be spent in darkness. Dim morning light fills the shed. Judge shoved it open hours ago, but only now I noticed. What I would give for an infected to stumble nearby. I would do anything to be someone else. I would do anything not to be Judge's comforter. We do not talk. I do not apologize for my outburst, and a regrettable part of my soul feels schadenfreude, as Judge will have to suffer as an infected. He has made others suffer so much. He has killed so many of them, and I am the witness to their pain. I resolve to not kill him. I look at Marigold. She is a pitiful thing. Wretched, even. Marigold stands up. I stand up. I am Judge, but I am also the witch. But I am also Marigold. I am Judge. I want nothing more than to not be this thing, this demon. I want to see a happy world. I prayed so much for the witch. I loved her, and now she is standing up. She drives the Swiss Army into my neck, and I stumble. I die. The suicide shop. The suicide shop. When I first saw Kevin Trask, he was almost naked. Perhaps fully naked in my mind's eye, but he was wearing the skimpiest of bathing suits as he got out of his pool stretched and toweled himself in the noonday sun. He could have modeled for any underwear ad. He was that chiseled, with long, angular lines from head to toe. I was both disappointed and relieved when he put on a purple silk robe. How appropriate, I thought, for the king of his world. He had yet to speak, despite acknowledging my presence with a brief nod. He was dead wrong if he intended for me to feel cowed by his superiority. I hated what he did for a living. Inside or outside? He asked as he came closer to me. I must have looked confused, or perhaps still caught in the daze of watching him get out of the pool. The interview? Oh, okay, I stammered, instantly regretting how I must have sounded to him, but then quickly recovered. Inside, I said. Too much sun out here, and I did not bring sunscreen. Inside, I groaned, thinking I could not sound any more stupid and thrown off by his looks, like any schoolgirl, instead of a crack reporter for the Daily Interview, a serious national magazine, a Pulitzer Prize finalist, for God's sake. Jeannie Hawk, crack reporter, bowled over by a Chippendale. Follow me. He turned and walked away from the house, and then through a hidden door in the outbuilding next to the pool. I like to use this room, out of earshot of the staff. NDAs can only cover so much. I don't want to be overheard spilling state secrets, he said with a smile. The interview will take about an hour, I said. He sat down and pressed a button on the side of his chair. The wall on the right side rolled away to reveal floor-to-ceiling window panes, revealing a view of the valley and city below. Nice view, I said. Fit for the Lord of all he surveys. He chuckled. I like it. Okay then, Jeannie Hawk, ask away. He got up and went to the wet bar. Drink? Just water. Kevin Trask rarely did interviews, and I wanted to take full advantage of his time. Indeed, other than a few transitory answers at press conferences, he had never given a full interview. I placed my recorder and notebook on the coffee table before me, then dug into my purse for a pen. He watched me as I set up the tools of the trade. Why both? He asked. Why both pen and paper and recorder? I always like backup, I said. I never did trust technology. He shrugged. I do. I studied him, taking in the sculptured beauty of his face, the one plastered all over the country on magazines, billboards, and buses. He took you into his eyes, forgiving all, a confessor and father, brother, even lover, all at once, leaving you wanting to do nothing but fall into those eyes and let it all go, listening to his voice as he told you to come find the peace you sought, the release you need, the end you had to have. And here I was, sitting before the real person behind those ads. I shook myself back to the task at hand. This is Jeannie Hawk, date June 1st, 2035. So, Mr. Trask, He stopped me with a hand. "Call me Kevin," he said, inviting me to continue. "So Kevin," I stressed the word, "how did it all start? Where did you get the idea for the suicide shop?" "People have always wanted to kill themselves, Jeannie. I made a way for them to do that and live should they choose, and also to die should they choose that. It turns out that being able to do that all in one place made for an attractive business." My turn to hold up a hand. "Kevin, if I had wanted to listen to one of the suicide shop ads, I could have simply turned on the television. Every idea starts somewhere. I want to know your start. What drove you at the beginning and made you create all this?" Trask watched me interminably, emotions playing deep in his green eyes. Then he seemed to come to a conclusion. "I walked into the ocean to die, and I did not die." He paused a long second, and then began again. "I walked into the ocean to die, to let the waves wash over me and take me away. I thought the pills I had taken with the booze I had drunk would kick in and block any pain. I had been depressed for a long time and wanted it to end. I picked a spot where, when I sat down, the water came up to my neck. Then I waited. Oddly, I did not think about much. I just sat and waited. Perhaps it was the booze and the drugs. I don't know. But what was ahead of me was just a blank. Nothing that held any terror. I fell asleep for what I thought would be the last time. The water would take me, and I would be at peace. When I woke, the first light of dawn glimmered on the horizon. I was now sitting on wet sand, naked, the water's edge now 5 feet behind me. The tide had gone out, not in, and now I was sober and exposed and very, very naked. I raced to my clothes, still piled on the sand. I pulled the shorts on and then slipped back into my hotel room. No one saw me on the beach at that time of the morning. I would have made quite a sight to the old couples who strolled the early morning hours on the sand, hunting for shells and health. You cannot imagine how foolish I felt, both lucky and a total failure simultaneously. The odd thing was that I no longer wished to die. My depression was gone, lifted from me like a weight that held me down. I felt light and released and did not fear the future. He stopped, not looking at me, lost in thoughts of long ago. I asked, "If you did not want to die anymore, then why did you start a company that provides suicide as a service?" He returned to the present, looked at me with those eyes that poured deep into my soul, and smiled. "Have you ever wanted to kill yourself, Jeannie?" "Of course not," I said, perhaps a bit too briskly. "I don't believe you. Most people want to, at least once at some point in their lives, only to be stopped by circumstance or fear." morality offers only partial protection. When you do it, it seems like a good idea at the time. I never forgot that. I had truly wanted to die. I had no reservations, and yet I did not die. And in that not dying, my life was given back to me. I went to work in various businesses, creating a living for myself and doing very well. I watched as society's attitude toward suicide changed, and a new movement started. My life, my body movement swept the country, sometimes not easily, but it continued to grow. People had become tired of being told what to do, no matter whether it meant being told what to do to live or being told what to do to die. They looked at it like a new war of independence, and they won. Congress eventually passed the My Life, My Body Act, making suicide legal. I helped, worked for the movement, and gave my money and time. I had a plan that I had ready for the time that came. I saw a need to provide people with a way to explore the suicide scenario safely, to see if that was indeed what they wanted, or if, like me, they would find that it was just a good idea at the time. So, I opened my first suicide shop. There, you could try the various ways to do yourself in. I expected that many people would regret the act if saved from it, just as I had been. I arranged multiple ways to try. A menu, so to speak, death a la carte, all safe unless you flipped off the safety switch. Then, it became permanent, but it was rarely used. Most preferred the safe try. The first shop was so successful that I franchised it, and it became the largest chain of any company in the country, and over the years, in the world. Would you like to see the inside of the shop? Absolutely. I followed him out of the house, down to a parking area with a large blue Rolls-Royce and a red Lamborghini. The chauffeur was waiting by the Rolls, and I expected him to get in that one, but he crossed the parking lot floor and held the door of the Lamborghini open for me. I like to drive. Do you feel you are doing all this for the money? I asked when we were driving. He just looked straight ahead, weaving in and out of the traffic, expertly guiding the car. I thought I saw a small curl in the corner of his lips, just the beginning of a smile. That's an old gambit, not very inventive, and surely you can come up with better. I provide a service. Others could do it as well, but I think my way gives people a chance to reconsider, to change their minds, and not complete the task if they are not truly committed. True, I said. What about those who come back repeatedly? Are they not adrenaline death junkies, getting ever closer to the deed to keep getting high? This time, he did not smile. Off the record? Okay, I answered. I have worried about that. At first, it was just a blip on the data screens, but at least there was a distinct uptick in the repeat visits. There may be a sexual adrenaline component to it. How often have you done it? I asked. Many, many times. I sensed that there was more he wanted to say, but he just added, "It does make the bottom line look good." Do you have much security? Oddly, not much. But we must guard the cars. We never know which trip could be their last. I let them park on site. Public lots complained about the abandoned vehicles. He parked the car, and we got out. We went to a private elevator, then up 4 floors, and then out to a large room. A hallway led out from it in 4 different directions, each lined by large glass doors on either side. He waved a languid arm to either side, and I watched pride form on his lips in a slow smile. Each room is a different experience, he said. Each room will be tuned to an individual's desires, just like tuning your radio dial to the deadly channel of death. This one, he said, pointing to the room to his right, is the overdose room, complete with all the world's favorite drugs, packaged in pill or IV form. If you want to go right to the edge and be pulled back, you must leave the safety switch in the safe position, and an aide will administer the antidote. Tell me of the other rooms. He moved on, waving his hand to either side, pointing out rooms for gunshots, cutting your wrists, throwing yourself out of a building or a cliff, car wrecks, death. By misadventure, even death by cop. There were many more rooms. Some take more preparation, mixing virtual and real reality in ways that can keep you alive unless you've turned off the safety switch. They are proprietary trade secrets that I can't tell you. We are quite adaptable. I felt the hair rising on my neck as he said this, realizing what appetites were being fulfilled here. I made a few notes, and my mind was racing. It's a cultural phenomenon. People use suicide as entertainment. I looked up at him and saw great weariness in his eyes, more than I would have expected. He was not a young man, but looked older than he should have when he did not smile. I suspected that he was unhappy with his creation. "Let's have a cup of coffee," he said. He led me down the hallway around the corner. There is a cafeteria coffee shop for people needing a timeout or a family that comes with them. Usually, if they bring family, they don't take the final plunge. Most of the time, they do that alone. He sat me down at the table and brought us each a cup of coffee. Mine was exactly what I wanted. Heavy duty, with lots of sugar. I wondered if he had been researching me. "Off the record," he said, watching me put my book away and ensure the recorder was powered off. The rest of our discussion should be off the record, as it might be bad for business. Going back to our previous discussion, people often ask why the person kills themselves. As I told you, I've always said that it is because it seems like a good idea at the time. The premise of my business was to have a way to explore that and find out if that's what you really wanted to do. Once the laws were changed, and suicide became legal and a recognized right, it took on a life of its own. As you know, I have thousands of suicide shop franchises worldwide and gather data on the people who do it themselves. At first, it was a small number, but most people seemed to be looking for experience without true motivation. I've noticed, though, that the more you try, the more you return. And the more they return, the closer they get to the end. I believe you're right. Those people have developed an addiction. What is not known is that more people have died in the last 3 years of my shops than in all the wars the world over in those 3 years. To quote that old line, I have become death. He chuckled mercilessly. Beware of unintended consequences. Can you stop it? I said. He looked at me and smiled, but the smile seemed to have the weight of the world in it, preventing it from ever becoming full. Turn your recorder back on. Let's finish the tour. You know I've never given an interview like this before. You may win a Pulitzer. We went to the last room. Inside the center of the room was a guillotine, one of my new additions. This device is one of the most efficient ways to kill ever invented. It's foolproof with the proper machine, quick in its finality, and I hope it is painless, although you can't ask the subject after it's done. Of course, it has a safety switch, and as with all the rooms, I can measure all the physiologic signs right up to the actual death moment. This room has not had a customer yet. I would expect it to be the same. The sensors review the data and come up with what I call the fear acceptance ratio. The closer to 0 that ratio gets, the more certain it becomes that the person will go through with it and kill themselves. I have placed a monitor in each room that the customer cannot see, but my technicians can. That's it, there on the far wall. If my technicians see the number getting close to 0, they know to be ready to call in the cleanup crew. That's a detail that has never been revealed. Be sure you write that down. The safety switch is there by the right hand. In order to have the machine complete the task, you have to push it all the way to the right, and a green light will come on, and the computer will ask you if you are sure. If you say yes, the blade drops. He looked at me and asked, "Are you getting everything?" I nodded. "Stay here then, and watch." Then he slipped inside the room. I was unsure, but I thought I had heard him lock it. I saw him lay down on the guillotine and put the bracket over his neck, and heard it click into place. I heard his voice tell me the sensors were built into the machine. I looked at the monitor on the far wall and saw a flashing number that started at 7 and then crept quickly to 0. "Are you getting all that?" I heard him say. "Yes," I said, feeling a tremor of doom start to shake me. I wanted him out of that room. I saw him grasp the safety switch. His hand slowly pushed it towards the right. Remember everything I said, I heard him say, as I tried to force my way through the door, but realized it was useless. Through the glass, I saw the safety switch turn green and heard the computer's voice asking if he was sure. Holding what I felt was my last breath, I heard him say, "Yes." "No, don't!" I screamed. "No, don't!" The blade dropped. The last thing I saw as my scream faded was his head rolling on the floor, stopping next to the glass, his dead green eyes on mine. I was still crying. "No, don't. Psychiatrist, do not enter." "All men to the gates," I ordered. "Run, run, fast. Take your torches. Take your weapons and armor. Just go. Go now. Fire. We need fire in the pits. All of them. Sonia, please, go quickly with this torch. Light. We must have light. The rest of you beautiful women, I depend on you to help me protect Psychiatrist. Will you?" That was all I had to say, as they took action barricading the massive castle doors. It was too late when the guards alerted us. There had been a breach at our southern gate. This was unprecedented. 24 people against our population of 69. Were they stupid? Sonia approached me as I sat on my throne. "It is finished. I have set fires around the perimeter," she said. "Don't panic. Don't panic," I said to myself. Then Daniel, who was a little older than me, rushed to the throne, all covered in blood. "I made it. I made it back alive. I had to see your face one last time, my great leader," cried poor Daniel. Then he collapsed. He did a face plant right at the foot of my throne. A knife protruded from his spine. "Oh my. Is he dead, Sonia?" "Oh, check him, please," I begged. "No pulse. He's dead," she said as she closed his dead, bloodshot eyes. "I'm so sorry, Martha. It's great leader. Remember?" I said softly, but harshly. "Oh, I'm sorry. It just slipped." "All right. Go fetch me some wine." I did not know how many casualties we had. The fight had just started. I needed answers. It took her a few minutes, but Sonia returned with 2 bottles of Cabernet. "Sonia, my brave friend, you have always supported me. I've cried on your shoulder many times. I need you to hide. Hide in the dungeons. Take fire and water. Pack as if you are going away for a long winter trip. It gets cold down there. Take blankets. Make 2 trips if you must. If something happens to me, and I'll put it in writing, you will be heir to the throne. But great leader, go," I ordered as I teared up. "Yes, I'll go. But, yes, the absinthe. May I? It's yours. You'll need it more than me. I've got my wine. Actually, fetch me 1 bottle. Before you leave, we'll have us a drink." "Yes, great leader. Do you want sugar cubes? I can light it up. Or do you want it straight?" Before I could answer, we heard screams coming from one man on our side of the gate. Such brutal screams, blood-curdling screams. I wanted the screams to stop. Go. Absinthe. The works. Light it up. Oh, dear Lord in heaven, if you are real, if there really is sin, then forgive me for what I am about to do. I took off my crown and placed it on the throne. I dressed myself in chainmail armor, and Sonia returned with the drinks. Where are you going? Why the armor? She asked as she put sugar cubes on a silver slotted spoon. She then lit the drinks on fire. I could smell sweet licorice fill the air. If we must fight, I will join the men on the battlefield. Sonia, we're going to win, I assured her. Please now drink. The fire had burnt away the sugar, and in minutes, the drinks were gone. They were strong, delicious. It made my mouth and my lips go numb. Thank you, Sonia. It's time. When she left, I did not know if I would see her again. I then gathered my weapons and approached my female guards at the front doors. Open, please, I ordered. They removed the barricades and opened the heavy doors. As I stepped forward, I tripped over my chainmail suit. Blast, I swore. I had fallen hard and landed on my bad knee. Damn it, I swore again. A woman named Clarice tried to help me up, but my bad knee was telling me, no, don't. You must go back to the throne, great leader, said Clarice in her uniquely soothing voice. I did not want to go back, but I did. I quickly put it in writing my plans for Sonia. Then, finally, the screaming stopped. I felt my stomach drop. Could it be over? Or could my men all be dead or captured? I needed more answers. I stared out the open doors and into the darkness. It was the longest minute of my life. Then, a head, the head of Bartholomew, came flying through the doors. It landed with a splat right next to Daniel's corpse. I couldn't help but scream. Someone had just thrown Bartholomew's head at me. I instantly grabbed my bow and arrow. I shot it into the darkness, and it hit the target that was about to come inside. Clarice, drag the piece of shite in. Strip him! Search him! I yelled. He wore a belt of knives and filthy, worn-out clothes. 12 knives, to be exact. One massive knife had jagged edges like a saw. This must be what he killed poor Bartholomew with. The bastard. I rose up from my throne and retrieved that knife. I approached the dead stranger, and I sawed off his right leg. How do you like that? Huh? How do you like that? I spat in his ugly face. I plunged the wicked knife deep into his throat. And when I pulled it out, blood sprayed out all over me and Clarice. Some women gasped, some cheered, some just stood in silence. I killed. My first killing, and dismemberment. Now, who was going to be next? I waited. I waited for something to happen. The quiet. Oh, the quiet was killing me. Clarice took inventory of what the sick bastard possessed. She found a nice pocket watch, some pain pills. These will come in handy. A toothbrush, and a small, pure gold locket that had a small picture of an older woman. His mother, perhaps? But really? Who cared? I tore out the picture and walked out towards the closest fire pit. I ripped it in half and threw it into the fire. I laughed a little as I watched the woman in the picture vanish into ashes and smoke. I pocketed the locket and said to it, "You're in a better place, my new friend. I'm sure of it. I will protect you." Then I turned to the women who watched me from the doorway, as they were too afraid to step outside with me. I will protect all of you. Tonight, we will have victory. I believe it. Do you believe me? We can take these common and dirty people. As I got closer to the women, I had them all huddle around me. I spoke as quietly as I could. Here is what I'm thinking. We spread out around the fortress, stay close to the fire pits, as we shall light our arrows on fire and kill these common fuckers. Then it happened, and my heart just broke. An arrow flew right past me. It almost hit my head. A great assassination attempt. It hit Clarice in her left clavicle. She collapsed. "Spread out. Shields up," I screamed. "Don't panic. Don't panic," I whispered to myself. "No, don't!" Then I heard one of the sweetest, most soft-spoken women you could ever meet. Beatrice scream. "I see them. They approach us from the south. Great leader, permission for us to light our arrows? Permission to set the skies ablaze? Women, guard your stations. Prepare yourselves for battle. Now light it up. Light up the sky. Aim!" And then I heard a male's soft voice whisper in my ear, "Peace. You have the power to make peace. Peace. Peace would not bring back Daniel or Bartholomew." "Fire!" I ordered, and the spectacle was amazingly breathtaking. The arrows lit up the south side of Siamontes. They landed in unexpected areas. In the trees, in the pond, in one man's shoulder, and beyond. I counted 3 fallen men from the first round. When the flames went out, it was so hard to see. Were they charging us? Where the hell were our men? I ordered another round to be fired. "Take aim at whatever moves. Fire at will," I ordered as I retreated to the bathroom to relieve myself. Even during these times, I felt it was important to be a lady. While the other women may be squatting in place, I preferred my privacy. There had to be more than a dozen men out there ogling them. There had to be. As I raced through the corridor, I stopped suddenly. I heard something behind me. Not screams, but footsteps. I proceeded cautiously, but was afraid to look back. I entered the bathroom, opened the stall door, and soon felt relief. As I washed my hands, the warm water felt good. Then, a hand covered my mouth. "Don't scream! No, don't!" whispered a male voice in my left ear intensely. He spun me around. It was Jacob. What a relief. Jacob was someone I cared about very much. We enjoyed our private times together. We had hot sex. He was quite possibly the best I had ever had. He uncovered my mouth and smiled at me with perfect chops. "What are you doing here?" I asked. "The men are to guard the gates. I needed you to protect the women." I became unglued. Why is this happening? How many men have we lost? This is not okay. Why are you so calm? He grabbed both of my arms and told me to be calm, to listen closely. Daniel got a bit ahead of himself. You know how he gets excited, right? Well, he just took off, running towards the southern gate. He had his torch, and we told him to stop, to wait, but he just kept running. Then his torch went out. It was like he just disappeared. We kept moving, and we were careful not to let our flames go out. Then I heard Daniel, "Oh my God," a phrase I would normally never use. They got him. We regrouped and discussed if we should split up. Bartholomew wanted us to split into 4 groups: north, south, east, and west. We decided against him, and he took off running north, back towards the castle. "I've been so worried," he said as he got choked up. Apparently, he did not see the corpse and the head by my throne when he entered Psychiatrist. I made sure it would stay that way, at least, until morning, or the end of the battle. Whichever came first. "Jacob, I sent Sonia away to hide in the dungeons," I said as I wept. I miss her sweet face already. She was my kindred spirit, my best friend. I took a deep breath and reached for my document I had folded and slipped into my chainmail waist bag. Jacob read the letter with haste. "What's this about her being heir to the throne? You don't honestly believe these commoners are going to kill you, great leader?" I said. "Nothing. I hoped it would not come to that. But as the leader of my people, I had a responsibility to secure Psychiatrist, even through the event of my death." "Jacob," I whispered, "can we make quick love before we go back? I know it isn't ladylike for me to ask, but I keep thinking they're going to take me away. Or worse, send me straight to the gallows. I know deep down that I am sterile, so even if I survive this, I will never be able to produce an heir to the throne. Oh, please, make love to me." And he did, right there on the bathroom floor. We continued until we had both been pleased. It did not take long as Jacob always knew what he was doing. We both giggled as we left the bathroom. We were being completely inappropriate. While my people may be dying, we were making love. It was foolish, but needed by both of us. Jacob expressed he had great mental clarity after our encounter. As we exited the corridor, I gasped. "Beatrice!" I screamed. She stood in the doorway with 3 arrows sticking out of her abdomen. She stood there, solid. She did not scream. She was surging with adrenaline. She would guard Psychiatrist with every ounce of her energy. "Great leader, we are winning!" "But I shot Micah," she said, ashamed. "He was out there in the mix without armor. I shot him." "I did," Beatrice cried. "He was the love of my life." Then she finally broke down. She took an arrow out of her pack and shot her left foot with it. "That's what you get, Beatrice. That's what you get." She then sat down in the doorway. She leaned her head up against the door and died. "No, please!" I rushed to her, and an arrow grazed the skin of my cheek. But I did not care. I checked. No pulse. She was dead. And for what? Oh, poor Beatrice. Where was your shield? What did they want? What were their demands? Disoriented again, I stood up and walked towards the brave women that continued to fight. There was Gloria. She always beat me at cards. Samantha never stopped smiling. I watched her for a moment. She was targeting one commoner, arrow after flaming arrow. She did shoot at the guy. She was having the time of her life. She smiled big and laughed. "Take that, you bastard," she said as she nailed her target in the forehead. Were we winning? I think we were. "Jacob," I paused. "Where are the other men?" "Jacob, we got separated. Separated in all the chaos." That's all I can say. The next thing I remember was being alone in the darkness. My torch had gone out, yet I was so careful not to let it. Then I found myself backtracking to Psychiatrist, a deserter. Jacob was a deserter. He carefully reached for my arms, but I pulled away. Samantha raced inside, laughing. "Hey guys, look! They got my ear, and it doesn't even hurt." I shook my head. Was everyone losing it? I wish I had some feathers to give to Jacob as a symbol for his cowardice. Tar and feathers also seemed like a good idea. We could send him to the commoners on a rail. Do with him what you must, and leave the rest of us be. I want you to leave Psychiatrist, never to return. I did not have to say any more. His time here was done. He knew this castle as well as I did. I folded my arms as if to say, "I'm done. Find your own way out." We were nearing the final stretch. I could feel it. As Jacob fucked off, I checked on my women. One by one, I checked on each of them. "Are you hungry? Can I cover for you while you take a break?" I asked questions like that, and no one took me up on my offers. They were such strong women who wanted to stand their ground. Such loyal women. A few had fallen, and they will be missed. Celebrated even. I returned slowly to my throne. At this point, I wanted to saw off my own leg. "It hurt so bad, Psychiatrist," I muttered. "You shall always be mine." I heard chatter coming from the women outside. Frantic chatter, or was it excitement? "We caught one!" exclaimed Miranda, one of our oldest people. "I shot him right in the caboose. He's down there by the bridge, crying. The pathetic little cur. Come with me to go fetch him. Come on now." Usually, I give the orders. But when Miranda says to do something, you do it. She led me to the commoner. My heart raced as we approached with extreme caution. I did not know what to say, what to ask him, so I said, "Why? Why are you doing this? You're all going to die." The man just panted and stared at me for what was the second longest minute of my life. Then he said, "You got a pretty castle. What's it called?" "Psychiatrist," I said, as I withdrew that wicked knife. I handed it to Miranda. "Now saw off his head." I grabbed his hair with both of my hands. He squirmed and moaned. Then Miranda sawed away. She took great joy in it. Blood drenched both of us, but we did not care. As we turned around, the rest of the women were standing at the castle's entrance. They sobbed great tears of joy as they watched us. Even Samantha was crying. That never happened. Could it be? Was he the last one? Was it over? I grabbed Miranda and held her close. I kissed her forehead and said, "Oh, Psychiatrist, my beautiful castle filled with my beautiful people. Say, let's go get cleaned up. Tomorrow we can start a new chapter. It will be just us girls. Virus. I am so crushed by time. Time and these oozing wounds and the rotten flesh like mealy apple that is my chest cavity. Rotten skin and an infected mind. Gangrenous parietal. So insatiably starving for living flesh, to rend it in my grinding jaw, the music of muscle mashing between molars and canines. A beating heart, my own, a thick, bloody steak. The fog of insanity. I am a monster, a living dead. I was once a man, the axe head, dragging heavy in the dirt. A curved razor edge and an engraved raven screaming in the silver. Scratches all along the throat and dried blood caked from heel to toe. A thin trail drawn in my footsteps, full of nightmares and terror. A horsefly crawls from a soggy hole in my cheek. Up ahead, in the cobalt blue between night and dawn, a cabin with windows boarded and the door barricaded. Faint whisper of light on the eastern rim, hope pretending to be where it's certainly not? Or is it truly there? Does hope still exist when your own has gone from the world? Footsteps forward. An animal slaughtered and torn to bits in the yard. A goat, most likely. Its rib cage shorn and sucked of the marrow. Bones and hooves make for lovely crowns. Some of the infected have shown an affinity for satanic macabora, my own skin crawling. The devil inside me too. Feed, devour carcasses, piled and burned and turned to ash. Skulls with strips of flesh melted to orbitals. An explosive exit wound from a lonely dome rolled to the bottom of the blackened heap. Shotgun sawed off. The stench is unmistakable, an overpowering, mutant reek blowing about in the wind. Someone has defended this place well. It's eerie and silent. No barn or garage. Tracks swerve backwards frantically in the gravel driveway. No vehicle in sight. A rope swing slung from the branch of an oak shivers in the breeze. Crows cry from the barren trees. They've learned not to pick at our remains. Those that do go stark mad. They attack their own, and soon the whole murder is infected. Dark balloons, writhing in the sky, plowing at high velocities into stone structures, crashing through glass and shredding themselves to feathered ribbon. Perhaps everything living is gone. No. Through the foul aroma, something else. Sweat, blood, tears. Feast. The wood porch groans under my feet. Rancid stumps numb to feeling. Digits cracked and twisted from wild wanderings. Everything boarded. Nothing through which to peer. I rap a knuckle on the door. Solid, reinforced with planks. Or perhaps the overturned dining room table. I make sure to stay clear of the frame. Whatever shotgun did damage to that skull could be waiting on the other side. Moments go by. Nothing. I asked Caroline to marry me in a field of sunflowers. I planned to surprise her at the peak, but the sun pouring over the ridge painted everything a warm, liquid gold and filled me with a fearlessness I've not felt since. A courage that makes old friends of forever. She paused, a petal between her fingertips, and when she turned around, I was on one knee with a little box and a ring. I didn't even get the words out. "Yes," she breathed, dropping to the ground with me, my palm circling the small of her back, her hand running laps through my hair. Brown eyes, like Kodiak fur. I press my ear to the door, raw appendage blistered by the cold, the upper portion torn away by raking fingernails. Inside, a sound wave, barely a ripple, and then a booming echo, the thundering of a grandfather clock, from a time long past. What's the hour? 5 a.m.? 6? What do the hands of a clock mean when time itself has stopped? And who said it ever really began? All of us zombies back then, slaves to time, wishing we had more, doing nothing with it, the best intentions, and all of our might, and all we did was eat the world. Mind virus, mustard gas in my demented cerebral, entire battalions twisting in the mud, gasping and choking, clawing away at their necks. Quiet, solitude, a freezing morning, and a cabin in the woods. Flesh, feed, gorge. I descend back down the steps and head for the rear of the house. My eyes dart in their sockets, alert to danger. The obliterated mutants in the yard burned in my thoughts like the scorched outline of a cattle brand. A ton of ammunition to build a mountain of bodies that big. Landmines and claymores, maybe. But the car gone, and no sniper fire to greet me. A fiendish drawl of laughter leaks from me. Where else to go? The hell is all around you. The backyard, gray and dreary and desolate. Spindly trees like crooked skeletons, and a rusted weather vane plunged into the earth. A playscape with a slide and tunnel. Haunting emptiness. Abandoned next to the playscape. A purple big wheel with pink streamers taped to the handlebars, and Disney princess stickers pasted all along the back seat. Ice in my fingertips and chalk in my throat. A rupture in time and a memory forced to the surface. Winter sunlight streaming through the living room window, and a cinnamon aroma wafting through the hall. Evergreen needles and ornaments sparking within. Icicles and candy canes and crimson hearts adorned with all of our smiles. Thrashing, tearing, ripping. The wrapping paper undone while she giggles with glee. Wow, she hollers, animated as a cartoon coyote losing its top. Yay, Daddy. She bounces up and down in the rubble, the paper crunching and crinkling beneath her, a smile on my face, and Caroline's hands on my shoulders. She kisses my cheek and rests her chin on the top of my head. Oh, what did you get her? She asks, the size of the box exasperating the tone in her voice. Surely there's nowhere to put it. Not in this tiny space. It's a big wheel, Mommy. She's flipping it sideways and shoveling away the mess to give her mother a clear view. Her eyes beam with excitement, and electricity crackles in the room. Fleece jammies and wool socks floating a few strands of her strawberry blonde locks in the sunlight. Can we take it out, Daddy? Can we? She tugs at my arm. It's all right with me. Ask your mom, though. Even Daddy has to ask Mom when he wants to do something around here. She bites her lip. She can be annoyed by the box occupying half the living room, or the childishness of her husband's silly, untrue joke. But what she can't deny is the thrill in her daughter's voice, or the simple joy that arises within a child when they receive a bike on Christmas. "Oh, okay," she relents, "but coat and boots on Missy. And take your father with you. I've got a breakfast casserole in the oven, and I still have to ice the cinnamon rolls." Gabby bounds from the room cheering. "And you?" She gives a playful shove. "Get that box down into the dumpster before I tape you inside and return to sender." I wrap her in my arms and take her down to the rug. She shrieks and we laugh and kiss, rolling around in the mess. The empty playscape again, front and center, and the big wheel lonely on the hard ground. Rage surges through me. I have the sudden urge to split a living thing in two, to pin its entrails to the wall. My hunger is an ocean, a quick twitch, wretched suffering, and a tweaking need for flesh between my teeth. There's a log on a stump from the before times when smoke from a chimney wasn't a sure way to get you killed. I raise the axe over my head and unleash an animal howl. I bring it down savagely, splitting the log in two, and the stump 3/4 the way to the ground. Rage. Feed. I pry the axe free and return my gaze to the cabin. Something unexpected. The back entrance is exposed. The door's been ripped from its hinges. It lies mangled 10 yards away. Darkness in the frame. Silence. No movement, but my own steps forward. A snarling in my mind. An impatient unease. I pick up a stone and lob it through the door. No hail of gunfire. No screams shredding the silence. I hold the axe steady and enter. A trail of blood on the kitchen floor and a shattered coffee pot nearby. Jagged remains of dishes scattered everywhere. Bullets in the wall and casings at my feet. A confrontation. But where are the bodies? Or at least the remains? Somewhere near. The scent is stronger, and the sound audible through the door. It's clearer now. A radio. There's a radio playing. It's coming from the living room. More blood on the carpet. Not just droplets, but messy splatters with a darker hue. A more gaping wound. An open artery. A bigger chunk removed. A green light blinks in the bookcase. The radio mumbles away. My monologue's out of control. I found the hole where the happiness goes. Lump in my throat, and a throat in my tongue. I'm gonna scream at the top of my lungs. You get lost in the ocean. What do you do when you are so broken? The flood, the feeling comes over. How are you so loved and so lonesome? I press the power button and the noise ceases. Starving. I'm so starving. And some stable calm has bloomed within me. A hurricane eye still and silent, outside of which the chaos of the universe churns. A chaos untamed by the God that created it. What God? So much hatred in my heart. If infinite wisdom allows for this, then I wish to remain a feral beast forever. Up the stairs I go. In the hallways is where I find them. An infected with its head blown off, gushers of blood pooled in a lake around its body. Rigor mortis set in long ago. The creature's bony fingers have curled and cemented, its spine stiff as a folding board, and the smell putrid even to me. Black flies feasting on the carcass. A rat scurries from the gaping hole in its neck. The man of the house sat up against the wall at the end of the hallway, a shotgun blast through his heart. I bare my teeth and lean in for a closer look. Yellow in his eyes, in his fingernails, claw marks on his neck, infected by the thing he slew. Took his own life to avoid the fate of us. He's a weak dead, at least. No use to me. I crave flesh that's alive. There's nothing alive here. I reach into his pocket and find an unused shell. I slot into the shotgun and tuck the weapon under my arm. I descend the stairs and head back outside. I make for the woods behind the cabin. Maybe I can kill a buck and drain its blood, enough to sustain me while I hunt. Icy dew on the hard ground. It cracks beneath my steps. I stop in my tracks, and a hellish grin spreads slowly on my cracked lips. What a gift of the virus. The nose of a bloodhound. The scent has returned. It possesses me, makes my blood boil. I follow it, saliva dripping from my chops. Thump, hollowness beneath me. I roll onto my toes and then back on my heels. A creaking, and then a soft whimper. I can hear the blood rushing in their veins. A rain blows down upon the concealed cellar door. Screams that curdle the air, and animal fear that only presents inches from death. I jam my heel into the destroyed wood and rip the pathetic thing from its hinges. I descend down, feeding time, a woman in tears and shaking uncontrollably. The virus propelling me forward like a demonic puppet. So dark in here, just a single lantern, and still barely any light in the sky. My jaw ready to clamp her throat, a whimper beneath her breast. A child, a girl, 2 years old, time swirling backwards again. Terrified screams, creatures tearing through our home, crawling on the walls and ceiling. Caroline sprints to the truck, Gabby bawling in her arms. The pistol barks in my hand. A bullet explodes through the eye of a pursuing mutant. Now I'm tearing after both of them, heart in my throat. The fear of God releasing atmospheres of adrenaline. I rip open the cab door, but it's too slow. The creature's claws are in my calf, and he's drawn blood. I waste him with the last bullet in the chamber and fall backwards, dragged to the pavement. I can feel it surging inside of me. Caroline's screaming, my face in her cupped hands. Hot tears streaming down, foam in my mouth, and violent convulsions. My windpipe is constricting. Go. I breathe. Caroline. Go. No, she cries. No, I won't leave you. Jagged needles of pain shooting up and down my limbs. Feverish sweat pouring from my glands. Go, or I'll kill you. She clutches harder. No, I won't. Yellow sun bursting in my corneas. Boiling rage and insanity beginning to blink its horrible visions. I take a final look at my baby girl. Then my last words before losing control. Go, or I'll kill her. The Jeep roars from the driveway, gravel dust clouds, and descends upon me. Wailing with her hands, pounding the glass, is Gabby. In her grip, her little Jonathan husky doll, time present again. In the dark cellar, a mother and her daughter. And in the terrified girl's hands, a stuffed beagle. Her own Jonathan. I jolt backwards, the cords in my neck straining under great pressure. Oxygen has evacuated my lungs. Kill, feed, musty in the cellar. A dankness that comes with the dark and wet. Go, Caroline, I won't. I collapse to my knees and retch. Blood in my eyes. Ravenous hunger that grips me. The woman clutches her girl and cries. She rocks back and forth, covering her daughter's eyes. No, I can't. No, I won't. Choked words between the retching. I won't leave you. Go, or I'll kill her. The fury is about to take over. I can feel it cresting into the abyss. One last shred of humanity inside me. My daughter's eyes in my soul. I clasp the shotgun and slide it, panicked, across the cement floor. Do it! I scream. But the virus has taken everything, and it comes out as a wild, maniacal howl. I'm overtaken, completely overrun. There is no more of me left. She lunges for the shotgun. I lunge to feast. A blast shatters the morning. There is no more of me left. The levee. This is bullshit. It doesn't take two of us to guard this levee. Nothing's going to happen. Especially not this time of night in the pouring rain. Don't know why we have to stand outside rather than sit in the cab. Could see just as bad from in than out. You just drove in today. Go ahead and get some sleep in the deuce. You look like shit. You look like shit. Nah. Remember, I'm kinda local. I got to sleep in my old bed at my mom's place last night. Go. Kay. Thanks, man. Yeah, whatever. Stop. Who's there? This levee is under the supervision of the National Guard. Turn around and return the way you came. Sorry, young man, but we can't do that. We don't want trouble, but we gotta do this. It's the only way, Mr. Hicks. What's your tag there, say? Adams? Which one of the Adams boys are you? Rick. Sir, I'm Rick. Who's with you? Just me and my dad, son. Just me and him. Why don't you put that gun down? Old Pops is with you? What are you two doing here? Let's just put that gun down, son. We'll explain. I can't do that, sir. Especially not with you holding that shotgun. You two need to stop bickering like old hens before I drop this box. That wouldn't be good for any of us. What's in the box? Dynamite. Dynamite? What the hell, Pops? Why are you bringing dynamite out here? Mr. Hicks? It's the only way, Ricky. The only way we don't lose everything. I don't understand. We gotta blow the levee before we lose everything. Our farm is set to get flooded out completely. I can't let you do that. I'm really sorry about the farm, but I can't let you do that. I've got orders to shoot, if necessary. We have to protect this levee. You wouldn't shoot me, would you, Ricky? After I coached you all those years in Little League and Pee Wee? I'm the one who coached the high school to state the year you won that fancy scholarship and hightailed it out of town. Come on now, let us through. No, I'm sorry. But you're talking about saving 1 or 2 farms. On the other side of this levee, there are over 50 homes with young families, with little kids asleep in their beds. Bullpucky boy, we heard the evacuation orders for the whole area on the radio. Ain't nobody there. They were even going to evacuate the old folks' home. This one keeps trying to put me in. We waited 2 days. Everybody should be gone. We ain't no murderers. That's exactly what you're about to be. If you've been listening, you know that evacuation didn't happen. My grandmother's down there right now. And all those families. What Amy's do you mean down didn't happen there? What? You said you've been listening to the radio. Well, power went out a bit after the evacuation orders were first announced. What do you mean it didn't happen? The levee up toward Summitburg on the other branch failed. It took out the island bridge. They can't evacuate. You said aim. Your gran is down at the old folks' home. Why didn't your ma bring her home? She should be home. Kara never did like your gran much. Figures she left her there. Your father is rolling in his grave. Hey, we tried Pops. She refused to leave. She insisted she can still help. Stubborn as a mule. That's your gran. Help with what, for God's sake? Just before the bridge went down, the med center went under. They saw that coming and had already evacuated everyone. Doc and a couple of nurses threw everything they could in the ambulance and set up in the nursing home. It's now the only medical facility in 3 counties. The Emergency Services Center went under, too. Grandma's running triage and dispatch from the night nurse station. Yep. That's definitely something she could do in her sleep. She was a Spitfire Army nurse, then spent probably 30 years running that dispatch before retiring. Well, holy. But our farm? Bill, hush. Private. Have your engineer types checked out this levee? Is it going to hold if it keeps raining like this? They're not sure. There's some work supposed to happen tomorrow if this rain lets up a bit, but it's mostly wait and see. You got a radio, private? One I can reach your gran on? I'm supposed to keep it on the guard channel, just for a minute. No one will know it was your radio, and not a personal one. Please. Okay. Here, Amy Adams. You there, sweetheart? It's Hank. Hank Hicks. You get off this emergency channel. This is for business. Just one quick ask, hun. Can you get word out for anyone willing to come by my place and drive the cows from the dairy barn across the road into the hills? I'm not there, and it's going to flood in real quick. My grandson, Mike, worked for you last summer. He's right here. I'll send him and anyone he thinks can help. Thank you, sweetheart. I gotta go. Dad, what was that about? We can be back in plenty of time to drive the cows out ourselves. If it even comes to that. Oh, it's come to that. Come on, Bill. We've got a levee to blow up. What do you mean, Pops? No, Dad. No. We'll lose everything. More than everything. What are you guys talking about? I'm talking about taking some of the pressure off this here levee to make sure your gran and all those folks stay safe. What are you talking about? He's talking about blowing the private levee in our back pasture. Flash flooding the whole farm. Darn right I am. Let's go. No! We can deal with some flooding, but that would wipe out everything. Son, it is still my farm, not yours. We'll lose crops. We'll lose equipment. We might well lose buildings too. But the land ain't going nowhere. And with the cows up in the hills, there'll still be a herd. You can use all the different property and crop and equipment insurance money to rebuild with all the fancy modern thingamabobs you keep going on about. Insurance. Dad, why the hell were we up here meaning to blow up this levee if we have insurance? I ain't never made an insurance claim, and I wasn't about to start if I could help it. Wait, what do you mean I can use the money? You mean we, right? Nope. I'm thinking I'll move myself into that old folks' home with his pretty grandma and leave you to it. Let's go blow a levee. The burial of the bottle. It was a hot summer evening when the doorbell rang at Steve's residence. Carol, a young and ambitious journalist, stood on the porch, her eyes filled with a mixture of determination and unease. She had been investigating a sensitive case for months, and the trail had led her to this unassuming suburban home. As the door opened, Carol was greeted by a middle-aged man, his face etched with a weary expression. I'm Carol, the journalist from the Daily Tribune. I was hoping to speak with you about a matter of great importance. The man hesitated for a moment, then ushered her inside. Come in, please. I've been expecting you. Carol followed him into the living room, her senses heightened, aware of the gravity of the situation. He gestured for her to take a seat, and she obliged, her notebook and pen at the ready. I know why you're here, he began, his voice low and somber. The truth is, I've been dreading this day for a long time, but I suppose it's time to finally come clean. Carol leaned forward, her eyes fixed on the man before her. I'm listening. Whatever you tell me, I promise to handle it with the utmost care and discretion. He took a deep breath and began to recount the events that had unfolded years ago. Events that had haunted him ever since. It had started with a simple mistake, a moment of carelessness that had spiraled out of control. Steve, a respected accountant in the community, had been tasked with overseeing a large financial transaction for a client. In a moment of weakness, he had succumbed to temptation and diverted a portion of the funds into his own personal account. At first, he had justified it to himself, telling himself that it was a temporary loan, that he would pay it back before anyone noticed. But as time passed, the guilt and fear began to consume him. He knew that if the truth were to come to light, it would not only ruin his career, but also shatter the trust of his family and the community he had worked so hard to build. As the months turned into years, Mr. Steve lived in a constant state of anxiety, always looking over his shoulder, terrified that the truth would eventually come to light. He became withdrawn, his once vibrant personality replaced by a haunted, guarded demeanor. I thought I could get away with it, he confessed, his voice trembling. I thought I could make it right. But the more I tried to cover it up, the deeper I sank. I became a prisoner in my own life, always afraid that the walls were closing in. Carol listened intently, her heart heavy with the weight of the man's confession. She could see the toll it had taken on him, the years of guilt and fear etched into his features. What happened next? She asked gently, her pen poised to capture every detail. Mr. Steve's gaze drifted to the window, as if he were reliving the events in his mind. It all came crashing down one day when my client discovered the discrepancy in the accounts. He threatened to go to the authorities, and I knew I had to act fast. He paused, his hands trembling slightly. I made a decision that I will regret for the rest of my life. I couldn't let everything I had built be destroyed, so I made the client disappear. Carol's eyes widened in shock, and she felt a chill run down her spine. You mean you killed him? The gravity of his words hung in the air, and Carol found herself struggling to process the information. She had come here expecting a story of financial impropriety, but this was something far more sinister. She was so caught up in the moment that she did not hear the two men come into the room from the kitchen. Before she knew it, one of the men had put his hand over her mouth and nose, suffocating her as they were putting her body in the back of the truck. They heard a voice telling them, "You know what to do." The sun beat down mercilessly on the dusty road as the two men in the battered pickup truck navigated the winding path through the vast expanse of the desert. The air was thick with the scent of gasoline and the faint hint of something more sinister. Albert gripped the steering wheel, his knuckles turning white as he focused intently on the road ahead. His partner, Bill, sat silently in the passenger seat, his gaze fixed on the horizon. Neither of them spoke, the only sound filling the cab being the rumble of the engine and the occasional crunch of gravel beneath the tires. As they drove, the landscape around them transformed from the sparse, scrubby vegetation of the desert's edge to the vast, undulating dunes that stretched out as far as the eye could see. The heat was oppressive, and sweat beaded on their brows, but they pressed on, their destination etched in their minds. Albert's thoughts drifted to the events that had led them to this moment. It had been a job like any other, a simple task that they had carried out countless times before. But this time, something felt different. Perhaps because they had never killed a woman before. Now, they were tasked with the grim duty of disposing of the body, a task that weighed heavily on their minds. They had chosen this remote location, far from prying eyes, to carry out their macabre task. The desert, with its endless expanse and unforgiving terrain, was the perfect place to bury their secret. As the truck rumbled on, Albert's gaze drifted to the rearview mirror, his eyes scanning the horizon for any sign of pursuit. But the road behind them was empty, save for the occasional tumbleweed that danced across the asphalt. The minutes ticked by, and the sun began to dip lower in the sky, casting long shadows across the dunes. Finally, Albert spotted a small, weathered sign in the distance, indicating their turnoff. He slowed the truck, steering it off the main road and onto a narrow, winding path that led deeper into the desert. The going was rough, the truck bouncing and lurching over the uneven terrain. But Albert navigated it with the skill of a seasoned driver, his eyes fixed on the task at hand. Bill remained silent, his hands gripping the door handle as they navigated the treacherous path. After what felt like an eternity, the truck finally came to a stop in a small, secluded valley. The men stepped out, their muscles aching from the long drive. They surveyed the area, their eyes scanning for any signs of life or prying eyes. Satisfied that they were alone, they set to work. Grabbing a shovel from the back of the truck, they began to dig, their movements methodical and efficient. The sand was hot beneath their feet, and sweat poured down their faces as they worked in silence. The sound of the metal blade cutting through the hard-packed earth echoed through the valley, the only sound breaking the eerie silence. As they dug, their thoughts drifted to the life they had taken, the weight of their actions bearing down on them. They had both been in this line of work for years, hardened by the violence and the constant threat of danger. But this was different. The hole grew deeper, the pile of displaced soil growing ever higher. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, they reached the desired depth. They both hesitated for a moment, staring down into the darkness. But then, without a word, carefully, they lowered the body into the grave, their movements slow and deliberate. Once the body was in place, they began to fill the hole, their shovels biting into the earth with each thrust. The task was arduous, the hot sun beating down on them as they worked. But they pressed on, driven by the need to erase any trace of their crime. As the last of the soil was packed down, they stepped back, surveying their handiwork. The grave was indistinguishable from the surrounding landscape. The only sign of their presence, the faint tracks left by the truck. Satisfied that their task was complete, they turned their attention to the final step, the burial of the bottle. This was a ritual they had performed countless times before, a way to mark the end of a job and to ensure that their secret remained hidden. Carefully, they dug a small hole at the base of the grave, just large enough to accommodate the bottle. They placed it inside, the glass glinting in the fading light, and then covered it over, ensuring that no trace of their presence. So today's story has come to an end. Or perhaps it never really ended. There are mysteries still there, questions still unanswered, and sometimes things that seem to only exist in stories can creep into reality in unexpected ways. Are you sure that when you turn off the sound, everything around you will still be normal as before? Or is there something watching you? Either way, always remember that these are just stories, or at least we want to believe that they are. If you like moments of suspense, tension, and breathlessness, don't forget to follow me so you don't miss the next stories. And next time, when you come back, make sure you are ready, because what awaits you may be even scarier than you thought. See you again if you still have the courage to continue listening.